Yesterday was the 10th of December, International Human Rights Day. And as we saw earlier, the several human rights organizations in the country have actually come up with reports saying the state of human rights in Kenya.
Right.
We saw one by the Independent Medical Legal Unit yesterday and others who were talking about, policing and how police have been treating Kenyans, especially those in demonstrations. The day before that, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights released its own report talking about the rights in this country where they see violations in terms of rights and violation of rights by those who are responsible for upholding human rights. Now let's get deeper into this conversation. We're joined by Hussein Khalid, who is the Executive Director at Vocal Africa, and Jackson Obare, who is the Regional Manager from ForumCiv. Good morning, Jackson and Hussein.
Morning.
Thank you. It's good to have you here. Karibuni sana.
Thank you for having us.
Ordinarily, Jano would be here to give you the code.
Right.
So she has taken a pre-Jamhuri Day. She's going to have a pre-Jamhuri Day address.
I was about to ask, someone's missing.
Yeah.
So she's away today, but we don't have the quote, but we'll get into the conversation anyway straight away. Yesterday was marking International Human Rights Day. Both of you have been here on the forefront of just looking. We have a Bill of Rights that talks about our rights as citizens of Kenya and the responsibilities of those that are in positions of authority in upholding those rights. If I just were to ask you to give us a score, over the last 12 months, since the 10th of December 2024 to the 10th of December 2025, where are we? Where would you rank Kenya in terms of observance of human rights, Hussein?
Thank you very much. Yeah, 0 to 10, I would give Kenya 0 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, and I'm being very generous here. I would give Kenya 3.
And that's being very generous.
I'm being very generous. I should have said 1, but comparing even the worst situations in Uganda and Tanzania, so then I would just give Kenya a 3.
Okay. We'll look at what that 3 means and where the 7 went. Jackson, how about you?
I was actually, maybe you say, install my number 3 rating, because if you look at even the Civicus report that made Kenya move from a situation of having obstructed in terms of civic space to repressed, we are 1 step to be closed. So that's why my basis of saying 3 out of 10, that 1 more step, civic space will be closed in Kenya and we'll be joining other countries.
What does that mean?
Before we were obstructed, now we are repressed.
Repressed.
Walk us through what's the ideal?
A civic space?
Yeah, what's a civic space? Yes. What's the ideal?
The ideal is to be open. That is the first step, that you have an open democracy, open civic space where people can express themselves quite freely without fear of reprisal or intimidation. But if you move that trajectory, it moves from open to narrowed, obstructed, repressed, and finally closed. So if countries are moved from that step, then it tells you what we are observing in Kenya, freedom of expression is becoming much more censored. We are actually almost entering into a phase you have to self-censor yourself. And I want to give an example. Yesterday we were celebrating Annual Democracy and Human Rights Day, close to State House at Arboretum. And people were expressing the one-term slogan has been coming. And even our Honorable Martha Karua was one of the provocateurs of the event. She actually said 1 term is not only for the president. If you are occupying a position, you have terms, it's enough even to serve 1 term and leave others to continue. So it's not, even her, she said in her party, she's going to be a 1-term leader and allow others to progress. But then we received communication from the facility managers that you guys stop chanting 1 term.
You're too close to State House.
You're too close to State House. I'm like, why? So it means we have even to self-censor ourselves on what to speak about. So that freedom of expression is being taken away of the citizens, whether it is media, censorship, all that combines, people disappearing without trace. It means we have moved from where we can express ourselves from obstructed, with limitations of course, to where now it's becoming much more severe until it is closed. And I can use the analogy of traffic lights. When it is green, it's open.
Yeah.
When it's amber, you're good to go. But when it is red,
you're good to go, but angalia.
But when you are red, stop.
Yeah. And we are one step from being red.
So we are on amber.
Yes.
Okay. I'll get back into that because I'm wondering, so if you use that as an example of yesterday, the fact that you were able to gather before even a discussion of what you're going to be discussing, whether you're going to be saying 1 term or 2 term or no term, right? The fact that you're able to gather, that tells me that the civic space is not close to closed, it's not even repressed. You're able to gather, you're able to organize, you're able to come here today and speak.
I think the question is the trajectory. Where are we headed? You can say that, yes, we are able to gather. We were like over 1,000 people. We were, sharing the situation in the country and all that. But in which direction are we headed? And in Kenya, it's a very slippery slope downwards, In the past, you could have these meetings, you could discuss freely, you could, without anyone coming up and, gagging you, telling you, you can't say this, you can't say that.
In the past,
so
in this country?
Yeah.
When?
Well, if you look at a few
years
back,
past, but
in the, not even the very, very far back, I know we've had these meetings, we've had these sessions, but right now, where we are, from compared to what we have been seeing in the past, we are at a very dangerous place. This is what we're saying. If you look at 3 years, maybe in the previous regime or others, no one had any restrictions of what you can say or how you can do your stuff. We had extrajudicial killings, we had enforced disappearances, but not at this magnitude. This year alone, Sabasaba Latif, we had the highest number ever killed in one single day of protest. 47. We've never had this ever in our history. How do we have, Sabasaba celebration, a single day, 47 people shot and killed on one day. So however you look at it, it's that the situation is deteriorating. And it's not just deteriorating, it's deteriorating drastically. Yes, we've had Rivayala killings. Yes, we've had, extrajudicial killings at the coast in Northeastern. Yes, we had the protest in 2023, the ODM protest, people were killed. But it's not as bad as it is. It wasn't. And that's not good. We're not even saying that that was okay. Of course, it was horrible. But the trajectory, the direction in which the country is going.
Right.
Yeah, look at the elections. They just concluded elections. And the worst part is that those in authorities or those institutions that are meant to guard the civic freedoms, the fundamental rights, the liberties, are pretending that everything is okay. You cannot steal elections in this country. Who said that? It's already being stolen. Yeah, the ID issuance of, the way things are happening all over, it's already being stolen. So we have to be honest with ourselves. You can't have elections. NCIC is there. People are openly evoking emotions, working against cohesion. And you have an institution that does not work. How does a cabinet secretary go out campaigning and you have the ESCC doing absolutely nothing? A candidate, people clearly tell you this person is not even a registered voter or this, and you don't even investigate. So this state capture of institutions that are meant to be doing their work and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing is a big letdown. And this is what we're saying. The trajectory, the direction in which the country is going, if we're not careful.
Incredibly worrying. Yeah. I hear you. And there's a lot of things I want to go into, which is there's the face of human rights, the violations that we see, I'll put it like that, those that are loud and they grab public attention, and there's a buzz and then we forget about it. Then there's a lot of the things that happen from a legislative perspective or that are bubbling under that we're not sure of. So I want to draw those parallels. But just quickly, an hour ago, as we were going through the papers, we're looking through an IMLU report, the Independent Medical Legal Unit report, released, that says 3 of 5 Kenyans shot by police were shot from behind, meaning they were fleeing, almost always unarmed. Kenyan police shot most of their 97 victims while they were fleeing. That's according to the report, exposing a pattern of unlawful killing during protests and routine operations. That's just one statistic, and I said it's good to have these numbers. But when we say Kenya's human rights reality, give me those other statistics with comparison from previous years so that we can see this downward spiral that you guys are speaking of.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have the data, and 97 are people who've been shot. But of course, the number of people who've died through extrajudicial killings is not just, or people who've died in custody. I think we've had a number of cases. You've had this time people, they claim, you know, they hang themselves and all that. So in terms of the numbers, those that have actually died in police custody, we are at 143.
This year alone?
This year alone. Yeah, 97 were shot, but you have, you know, cases, if I may give an example, like Albert Ojwang. Albert Ojwang was not shot, you know. So you have, and this year we've seen more deaths in police custody compared to what we had last year or any other previous year. And the question that people are asking, how is it that more and more people are dying in police custody? We're supposed to be seeing less of that.
Yeah.
If you look at issues of enforced disappearances, last year, despite the high numbers that we saw because of the protests, this year around, we are less just by like 2. We had 87 last year. This year, we are at 85. Enforced disappearances up to this point, you know, and these numbers are being reported mainly in urban centers: Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret. These are numbers that are coming in from different areas.
How do we classify enforced disappearance?
So enforced disappearances is where an individual goes missing, suspected to have been seen last with security or state agencies, you know? So it's not just someone, young person. There's a difference between, yes, a missing person and enforced disappearance. So enforced disappearances is where a state authority
we can locate
involved.
You with a state officer.
Yes,
at some
the last
point.
person, yes.
The last person you were seen with, or last people, okay. Or you were last seen at a police station?
Yes, or a
like
state
that.
agency.
Or
you were last seen at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or you were last seen at, you know, the chief's camp, or something like that.
Okay.
The same as torture. You know, torture, if you and I fight, if you beat me up or I beat you up, that's not torture. Yeah, that's assault. But torture is where a state officer is involved. Or at least orders from the state. Then that's torture.
Then that's torture. So in these 85 cases of enforced disappearance, did they reappear?
Out of the 85, yes. Out of the 85, just let me look at my statistics. Where is this? Out of the 85, we have around 34 that reappeared. 51 are still
missing.
Yes.
Okay.
51 are still missing.
That's a high number.
That's a high number.
And if you compare it to last year, because you're saying last year was 87, did they reappear?
The last year, I don't have the figures for last year here, but majority of last year didn't reappear. And you remember last year we also had Kware.
Yeah.
You know, the Kware killings, the bodies that were recovered. And to date, we still don't know what happened there. The person somehow escaped from Gigiri police station. And this year are still looking for him.
Okay. So those are the instances you've given us. Those who've died in police custody, more than 140. Those who've been shot by police, and this can be attributed to police shooting, 97.
With 3 out of 5 of those shot in the back.
Shot in the back. 85 enforced disappearances, you know, more than 50 are still missing. So this is basically what we're saying. Just in police alone, these are the statistics that we have for this year. And you're using that and saying all these numbers are same or higher than last year. And it's That's what you're using as a dangerous trend of where we're heading. Have we ever been at a better place?
Statistically,
yes.
Statistically, definitely. If you look at the Missing Voices report, we are looking, and on average, I think was it in 2021 or no 2020? 2020, I think we had less than 60 in terms of extrajudicial killings, if I'm not wrong. 2020.
Okay.
You know, but yeah, you know, so those figures have been rising ever since. We have the previous years in the 2010s, we also had numbers that were lower. Immediately, Ruto came to power. That's in 2022. The first few months were quite good. Actually, we recorded, you know, very, very low numbers. But then came the protests, the ODM protests, and
a spike
went up, a spike. So we've been having this. 2024 came the Gen Z protests. Again, the numbers went up. 2025 now. We have Sabasaba commemoration, and you know, just that one single
Ojwang, June 25th, and Sabasaba
exactly
in quick succession.
Exactly.
That was
and it's not just the numbers, Latif and Mariam. It's how it's being done. I think you remember the case of Boniface in broad daylight. You know, at least in the past, you see bodies floating in rivers. Not that it's good or any, you know, like it's, but nowadays it's just done openly.
It's brazen.
Because you have those in authority openly speaking, shoot in the leg. If you come to the police station, shoot that person. So you have a leadership that absolutely, you know, encourages the use of force. And you have, I think Parliament has completely let us down. The chair of the committee saying, yes, those guns are not, what did he say? They're not pencils or something like that. You use them. So you have leadership that does not respect the Constitution, does not respect human rights. And this is why we are saying, you know, someone can just come and shoot someone in the head without even caring, in broad daylight, in the streets. So it's not just the numbers, it's how it's also being done.
Right.
As you said, 3 out of 5 shot in the back. Why? This person was, it means he was no threat, or she was no threat at all.
You were most likely running.
You know, and then you just go ahead and you shoot.
There's something I want to, we're just about to go, sorry Jackson, I see the thought. Okay, it'll take 1 minute.
Yes, and I think maybe I was just to make a joke. They wanted to shoot on their leg, and the person was running, they missed and shot in the back because there's an order to shoot in the leg.
But the first person who died in the protests, Rex Masai, was shot in the leg.
I was just about to say, you can die from a gunshot anywhere. There is no safe place. But I want to get into something about how we document and how we keep track of this, because we are definitely more engaged politically, and we are definitely more prone to reporting. So could this be a factor of just more information, or is the regime actually more repressive? Let's hold that thought. We'll go into a short break and then come back. And then we'll also try and get the fixes, because if this is our reality, then what next?
What's next?
Fixers are already commenting on the reality of Kenya's human rights. Emmanuel Templar says, Kenya doing very badly. Ruto should not have let Uganda come and abduct Besigye on Kenyan soil. It was coordinated with the Kenyan government, and to make it worse, plant a pistol on an old man. To be a politician, you have to develop thick skin and expect all manner of criticism, including abuses. If you can't stomach it, don't join politics. Stay home like the rest of us. Hearts of Productions says, is quoting Proverbs 11:14, says, where there is no guidance, a nation falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. When there is no guidance, a nation falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. So if you just look at this, and we were looking at, you know, the state of human rights in this country. As we're going to the break, you're saying, let's also look at other aspects, Mariam.
Right. I wanted to first know, and maybe Jackson, you can shed some light, could these increasing numbers be a result of the fact that we're just much more aware of our rights, one, of the civic space, and that we're likely to report more now?
I could say yes, and basically we were discussing with Hussein yesterday that what has been the gains in the last 12 months, because we are talking about a repressed state in terms of civic space. But then we pointed out that one of the gains is awareness levels that have gone up for the last 12 months. So now people are much more aware of their rights, they are able to speak out of any violations, and therefore you expect the reporting to go up. But I also know, you know, these are the official data that usually comes. But what about the cases that are not? We must put a statistics, a probability of plus minus these numbers to be able to say if we reported 187, those numbers could be in the range of maybe 200, for example, because of unreported cases. Because we know, in as much as information is out there, some things just go unreported. So the contribution of awareness can be attributed to the cases, but also the space that we have as well. It's not closed yet. There is sharing, but it's a bit checking around whether I need to talk about this or I need to self-censure.
I want to look back at, and Jackson, you can respond to this. If you look at the period before Constitution 2010 and the period after Constitution 2010. Before Constitution 2010, the final years of the Kanu administration, there was, well, the 80s into the 90s. Look at the record, human rights record then, in terms of the openness of a civic space. There was a lot of activity in the civic space, but it was not free, it was not open, it was not even narrowed, it was not obstructed, surely. That's when I could say that was repressed, because there was direct government action to try and silence the civic space. Then look at the Kibaki 1 administration, look at Kibaki 2 post Nusumkate, in the Nusumkate administration, where the eyes of the world are looking at us and saying, you have got to implement this peace accord, and you also have to look at your human rights record. But it's during that time when we had an entire UN rapporteur on human rights coming to Kenya to hold an investigation because of reported cases of human rights abuses to a grand scale. Right?
Yes.
Then after the 2010 Constitution, we have institutions in place. Have those institutions helped? Plus, we have a Bill of Rights, an entire chapter in our Constitution that defines rights. Those that are absolute, those that can be realized, that, you know, and places responsibilities. Then we have institutions that are meant to make sure that we have this Bill of Rights actualized, right? Has that helped?
So in my reflection, you know, having institutions in place, it's a good thing, because it's not every country. In fact, when you walk out and compare Kenya with other countries, then you say, we have institutions. That's the first step ahead. The second one, how are these institutions resourced? Because we are talking about who appropriates resources. Parliament is there. So if they want to make you dysfunctional, is to actually cut funding. And therefore you become dysfunctional even when the Constitution mandates you to do 1, 2, 3 things. So in that case, still the states wields power to allocate, you know, the executive still holds power to say, Latif, this institution, we think you are becoming too mouthy, so we need to zip you and don't undertake your mandate. So what I could say before, of course, the history, we could see, I think it was closed. The civic space was really closed. So Kenya keeps moving steps forward and also getting backward. Now we are getting backward because I think we are also suffering from a situation where if you had a constitution relative that gave you absolute power to choose and decide what not to choose, and now you have a constitution that mandates you, is very clear of things that you need to do, clear responsibilities, you still have hangover saying, this is not giving me the freedom I want to do what I wish for this country. I think we were better in that kind of regime. So if we are on that borderline, it brings confusion because we are 15 years into the new we can't call it new again because 15 years is not a child born 15 is a teenager now.
Which I think, I can't remember which guest on the show said this, we sometimes do need to factor in that what we're experiencing now are those teenage growing pains. And sometimes we should be a little bit more optimistic, not to excuse anything. But what you mentioned about resourcing the institutions, a lot of Kenyans are more aware now about the work of civil society, the work of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, things like that, but still may not understand which one is A from the Constitution. Which one is the difference between the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights and the Kenya Human Rights Commission, right? And other bodies that are mandated to basically enforce the Bill of Rights or make it a reality, and how they are resourced or not resourced, and if this regime has been resourcing them adequately. I don't know if it's nyingi, but umelewa to your context.
I think let me say this. I agree with Obare. I mean, 15 years, it's a teenager, and but if you look at the history of constitutions, the Magna Carta, the UK is centuries old, the US Constitution and all that. And what we're experiencing in Kenya is that transition from the old way of doing things, the old constitution, to the new one. Most of those who are in leadership today are Moi's children, Moi's students. Ruto, YK, was it 92? And all that. And all these people who are Kalonzo, all of them, they were there. And now you have a new generation, and this is where we have the clash of generations. This is a generation that went to school. Everyone, free primary education. You are talking of, Moism, then Kibakism, then Uhuruism, and now we have Rutoism. And, they know the constitution. And then what's like magical in the last few years is technology. From social media now to AI. And this is a generation, the people who are rising up, is a generation that is so informed. Just at the touch of your button, you're asking me about statistics. I didn't come with it, but I have it on my phone. And you can and you have everything there. Now, this generation is being led by a generation that still thinks for people to come out to protest, someone must have paid them. So you're abducting people every day, getting their phones. You're trying to who funded you? And they don't get it, that people are just coming out because they want change. So that clash, you have this generation in leadership, in power, and then you have these others who are totally different generation, understanding things differently. They've gone to school. They've never known the older constitution where the chief is everything and you steal a chicken and you go in. This is the mentality of the older generation. And you have these guys like, what the hell? I mean, how do you kill someone in a police station? In the older generation, someone is killed, you keep quiet and you just whisper and you say, hey, this and this has happened. So people are like, how are these youth saying Eliud Lagat must be arrested? And all these questions that are coming up. So we have with the constitutionalism, I mean, leaving the constitution, you have a generation that knows nothing else but this constitution. You've talked of the Bill of Rights, and it's the biggest chapter in the constitution. The framers of the constitution had a reason to have the Bill of Rights as the biggest chapter because they knew where we were coming from, And now this younger generation are like, we have a constitution, rights that cannot be limited. One of them is torture. So irrespective, even if you have a state of emergency, there are certain rights in the constitution that you cannot limit. And one of them is freedom from torture, inhuman, degrading treatment and all that. So how do you come and you tell me that you are going to get goons to beat us up and all that? And this information is with everyone. Goons are working together with police officers. And then, Latif, you come and you tell us there will be goons. I mean, there are goons, it's so no maandamano. It doesn't work that way. I am going to school. You have a duty, a responsibility as police officers to make sure it is safe for me to exercise my right to education. I am sick. I have to go to the hospital. That's why we have police. You protect me so that I can have my right to health. The same for protests.
Yeah.
That's why we do notices. We give you notices so that you make it safe for me to protest. It's your job to stop the goons. So they try to demonize it, like, you know, there will be violence. Then why are you existing? Why do we have police? It is your job to make sure that those goons are not there so that I can exercise my right to protest.
Agreed.
And this is what the younger generation now understands. But the older one, they just don't get it.
Kuna lag, and that happens. It's a friction that will happen. But now we'll get into the fixes, because that's where we deal with the problem. I still want to differentiate the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights and the Kenya Human Rights Commission. No, because to be fair, if you don't exist in the civic space, or you have, you may genuinely not know, and which one is funded by government, yes. And has it been getting funding?
So the Kenya National, I think the key word there is the N. The N, because the letters can just mix you up. So the one with the N, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, is the quasi-government, the state institution. It's funded by taxpayers' money, and it runs everything. The chairperson is Clarice. She's just come in, and a brilliant lady. I hope she will bring the changes and what we expect to see. And then you have Kenya Human Rights Commission. Kenya Human Rights Commission is a non-governmental organization. It's an NGO funded by donors, funded in some places by well-wishers and people who just want to see good happening. And the difference in terms of operation is minimal, because the Kenya National Commission is for human rights, Kenya Human Rights Commission is for human rights. So in terms of their operations, in terms of their reports, there's very little, but we need to know that the national one is the state-owned or state-run or state-funded.
Quasi-government,
quasi-government, yes. And the Kenya Human Rights Commission,
yes,
is a civil society one.
Exactly.
The National Commission has a mandate to report to the people of Kenya on the state of human rights, and also is a check on government. It's basically the constitutionally mandated body to check the government on human rights issues.
Correct.
And report to Parliament, the people of Kenya through Parliament, which is where now again we come in. Parliament has a very critical role to play in all these things that we talk about, in making sure that our institutions are doing the job that they ought to do, starting with Parliament itself, and everything else. It's when we talk about rights, and even the Constitution is basically this sort of an agreement between the people and the state, right? And those that govern. But then also, as we come to that, I want to ask the question to differentiate properly between state and government, right? Because even when you have a head of state and head of government, it's clearly shows that they are two different things.
Yes.
What's the difference between state and government?
So the state, we usually say there are three arms of the state. Yeah. So the state has the executive, has the judiciary, and has the legislature. So a state, when you talk of the state, you're basically looking at the institution of all that encompasses what makes a state, a country, a government, Government, when you talk of government, it is those who are in charge of the executive, those who are now, running so when you talk of government, it is devoid, for instance, of the judiciary. Yeah, it's those who are.
But the judiciary is one of the three arms of government.
State of the state. I know people use these words interchangeably. Yeah, but the state, if you look at the state, look at it as the executive, judiciary, legislature in general. Government, mainly when you talk of government, you talk of the executive. More so the executive and the responsibilities that they come with you being in the executive. So in law, the government of the day, you're basically referring to governance is basically Kiswahili tunasema usimamizi. So those who are responsible, those who take charge, and then the state is encompassing of everyone. I don't know if...
I get it. I think the way I usually think of it is government is almost the HR function of the state. It's the... I don't know if... it's... the doers. Yes.
The structure.
Yes, the structure. You were leading to something with that question?
Yeah, because I was coming to look at our constitution then, first of all, establishes the state and the Republic of Kenya and says this is who we are. We are all in this Republic of Kenya. And then the citizens are the ones with the sovereign power in this state of
Article
Kenya.
1.
And then they can exercise it directly or they
indirectly
delegate it to these officers who then are in government. Now, I was leading towards the place of those that have responsibility, delegated responsibility, to exercise it on behalf of the
including the legislature,
Kenya, including the legislature, in ensuring that our constitution is followed. Okay.
Yep.
So, which is because the legislature will play a critical role. For example, it's the sole consumer of the report by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. It takes that report, it should look at it, and then see. So, what is it that needs to happen? As a representative, here it should be completely unbiased, remove itself from whether you belong to a political party that is now in government or in
not.
opposition. It's basically looking at what have you said. It's a consumer of all these other reports from these other institutions. I think Parliament, and I keep saying, Parliament has failed us in very many ways. And for the people of Kenya who are actually the owners of the state to recognize the primacy of the institution called Parliament in realizing their rights. I think it's a very important point. I'm leading to say that as we talk about all these institutions and whether the institutions are strong enough, I always look back at whether Parliament is actually strong enough, because if we have a weak Parliament, these institutions will be weak.
Latif, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in whose interests do you want to have a strong Parliament, right? That could be the question. It's in the interest of the Kenyan citizens
to have a strong Parliament.
To have a strong Parliament.
True.
But what about the person we elect to the top of the executive? Will that person's interest to have a strong Parliament or a Parliament that they can easily manipulate to do what they want?
Right.
And so that question of interest and values comes into question.
Yeah. For me, one of the greatest failures of this Parliament is ODM. When you are elected, overwhelmingly, almost 50%, you are supposed to remain in opposition. Democracy thrives where there are checks and balances. Democracy thrives where there is supervision, where there is someone to ask you questions. And sometimes we hold these positions not because you want. You may want to be there so much, in government because that's what you exist to be in government, But then you remember we are in a setup and this is my role, this is my responsibility. For us to have a government that delivers, you must have a strong opposition that will ask questions, that will poke holes, and then when the opposition now goes to bed with the government of the day, you're basically just diluting everything. So for me, one of the main reasons, and it's not just ODM, we also had other parties that were assimilated, I don't know which one and which one, and everyone going in. That is one of the greatest failures of this system that we have presently.
Agreed.
And everyone just jumping on board, and you become the biggest supporter. You are the one who's defending. And, it's like during those Sikuza slaves, you had what you called the house Negroes. You remember the house Negroes?
Yes.
A few of you are picked from the plantations, uko unaletwa kwa nyumba.
And you think you're better.
And now you think, hey, kwanza, you're given the whip. Even in the colonial days in Kenya, you had the chief.
We had
who are home guards, with their shorts and what, and you are given.
And they
now,
got to wear shoes.
Imagine that this is the situation you have today. So they are helping the colonial masters, to even subject their own brothers and sisters to further humiliation, to slavery and all that. I see this situation currently
I agree. The lack of an opposition, and I've said it so many times on this show, we have lacked an opposition, not just in this, but in several governments. I think Twitter has been the main opposition for at least a decade now.
I agree with you.
Kenyans on Twitter. And then now you move on to a wider scale, and that's what has happened over the last year or two. But because of time, I want to know what the actual fixes are. This is our human rights reality. How do we move from here back to being an open democracy that has room for everyone's rights and no one's wrongs, hopefully?
I think it starts with following what the Constitution says. Implement the Constitution as it is, because it has all the provisions, because we start talking about amending it before even implementing it fully, to ensure that we also have learnings, and it has a provision for amendments. It has learning. We have learnings from full implementation, but also mandating these constitutional bodies and resourcing them. We are saying they are there, yes, but are they really truly independent? Others are called independent, but a phone call is made to make even changes of the recommendations, and everything is watered down. So if we are able to do that, then we are respecting what our supreme law of this country gives guidance to those in leadership, but also to the citizens. I want you to see, when people see, I think Bishop Oginde actually mentioned that he was trying to transfer a vehicle from NTSA, and they were asked for a bribe of 10,000. But he's head of ESCC, the very people he's supervising to ensure that they are following the ethics of this country, and they are the ones. So he's experiencing firsthand, how do you reform these institutions, even the mind shift, even the values that we uphold, to ensure that as we fix the nation, I think we need to fix our values.
Okay, very briefly.
My fix, and the most important one, is the people of Kenya. Do not be silenced. Shout, scream, do anything you can. Make sure you don't remain silent. They say if you can't fly, you run. If you can't run, you walk. If you can't walk, you crawl. Whatever it is, you see a wrong in your community, the chief is usurping his powers, whoever, police, shout, scream, use your phones, social media, X, TikTok, everything. I think that's because now it's up to us. Institutions have failed, government has failed, state has failed, parliament has failed, so the people. The
people are the fix, right? And I think that fix will best be exercised in 2027. Let's get into a short break now, but when we come back, we will be in conversation with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates from the State of Palestine. Her name is Dr. Varsen Aga Bekian, and we'll be talking to her about what it means to be resilient, what human rights looks like in Palestine right now, and what diplomacy can be doing for the State of Palestine. We'll be right back.